Good morning, Curious Piano teachers. I am Catherine Fisher, and this is Dr. Julie Nurhaig. And Julie is celebrating her 1 month anniversary. She just got married on March 30th, it is. So we're celebrating today in the Cotswolds by walking to the mill in Lower Slaughter, and we just had a lovely coffee together. So Julie and I are the co-authors of Piano Safari, and we want to say a big thank you to Sharon and Sally for giving us the opportunity to contribute to this Curiosity Box.
Catherine and I met at the University of Oklahoma when we were doing our graduate studies. Catherine was working on her master's degree and I was working on my PhD. And we realized we had a mutual dream of writing a piano method. So we started sketching out our ideas, and after 10 years of testing and writing, we released level 1 of Piano Safari, which now has 3 levels. So we're very happy to be with you today to share a few highlights of level 1.
Our goals when creating Piano Safari were to create a tutor series that would train students to be fluent and confident readers, train students to understand music orally and use music to express their own creative ideas, and provide students with interesting work at the piano. There are many paths to help beginners learn the basics of music, but we want to ensure that the beginning stages are intriguing and enjoyable by providing variety in sound and learning modalities. Children learn best in a playful, joyful environment with material that is interesting and appealing to them. Here is an overview of Piano Safari. The main Piano Safari method is for children beginning piano between the ages of 6 to 9. It may also be used with younger children, ages 4 and 5, although you should use your discretion when starting a child at this young age. The core Level 1 materials contain an all-in-one repertoire book and sight reading and rhythm cards. Levels 2 and 3 contain a repertoire book, a separate technique book, and sight reading and rhythm cards. There are also supplemental theory books for levels 1 and 2, although the repertoire books do contain some theory pages as well. The recently released older student version is for beginners ages 10 through adult, who are either new to the piano or returning after a time away. It's designed with the same pedagogical philosophy and progression as our method for children, but it moves at an accelerated pace. One thing that makes Piano Safari unique is that we include rote pieces at the beginning of study. Rote teaching is the systematic introduction of musical and artistic concepts that are best introduced by modeling rather than from the notated score. You do this by breaking a piece into small sections for your student. Students learn by imitating you at the keyboard. If you look at various tutor books, you will notice that a few feature rote only. This can be dangerous because if reading is delayed too long, students may become reliant on their ears and may not learn to read fluently. But another extreme is to feature reading only. Most tutor books fall into this category. This may cause students to become deficient in their oral skills, develop nervousness when memorizing pieces, or lack an understanding of how music is constructed in patterns. Because they are playing only what they can read on the stave, students may tend to read note by note without grouping notes together into phrases and patterns. Natural readers see patterns intuitively, but those students who are not natural readers may need to be taught this skill, or they may always read note by note. The most unique feature of Piano Safari is that we teach rote and reading simultaneously, beginning in Unit 1. Students learn patterned pieces by rote, and they learn to read notation through a separate body of reading pieces, along with 16 sight reading cards per unit. Piano Safari uses an intervallic approach to reading. This means that students read primarily by interval, up, down, and same, rather than reading each note name separately, note by note. We have found that an intervallic approach to reading produces the highest percentage of students who become confident and fluent readers. This is because they are reading by shapes and patterns of melodies and chords, rather than note by note, which is similar to how advanced pianists read. Of course, students need to learn note names as well as intervals. It's just a matter of which comes first, the intervals or the note names. In an intervallic method, intervals come first, followed and reinforced by learning the note names. We introduce all the note names on the stave at the beginning of Level 2. However, you may opt to introduce individual names using some flashcards during Level 1 as well. This is an example of a sight reading card where students are reading on the stave. This begins in Unit 3 in Repertoire Book 1. The students have an entire unit of reading seconds, before they move on to the interval of a third, and finally combining seconds and thirds at the end of the book. Students read this card not by letter name, but instead observing the melodic direction. They would point at the starting note in the treble clef example and name the landmark, G. Then they follow the melodic direction. G, up, up, down, down, same, etc., until they get to the end of that line. They would then take this card to the piano and play it, observing that melodic direction. This process is repeated for the bass clef line. And at the very bottom of the card, you see a rhythm tapping exercise. City Stroll is a reading piece from Unit 3, which is the same unit we were just looking at when we observed the green sight reading card. Students learn this in a similar way by labeling the initial landmark and following the melodic direction. Dandelion Fluff is a rote piece that is found in the same portion of the book as City Stroll and Sight Reading Card Level C. You can observe here how students are working on rote pieces that have a different sound in a more complex form than their easier reading pieces in the unit. In Dandelion Fluff, students are working on playing lyrically while crossing their hands, and this piece also has a pentatonic sound. The technique found in Level 1 of Piano Safari is based on my dissertation research, where I interviewed and observed teachers well known for their excellent teaching in the United States. They came from many different technical schools, including the Russian School, Taubman, Suzuki, and others. After my research, I condensed what was common among all the teachers to form the 7 animal techniques found in Level 1 of Piano Safari. These are the basic technical motions all beginners should master. They include the lion paw technique, which teaches arm weight. Zechariah Zebra teaches fast repeated notes, which is a great way to firm up the fingertips. Tall Giraffe teaches non-legato. Tree Frog teaches legato with an arm bounce behind each note in order to keep the arm involved in tone production. Kangaroo features fast repeated notes as well. Soaring Bird is a 3-note slur, legato with a smooth arm motion. And Monkey Swinging in a Tree teaches rotation. For each of the 7 animal techniques, there are 3 components. Students first learn the gesture in a technique exercise, and they then use that gesture in an improvisation piece where they can explore the motion with more freedom. And finally, they play a rote piece where they use the motion. In Tall Giraffe, students refine their non-legato articulation and also learn to play a wrist lift. The improvisation piece for Tall Giraffe is called Tall Giraffe and Friends. In this piece, students experience question and answer phrases and the 12-bar blues and practice playing their non-legato. After you've done it as written in the book,
you can transpose the left hand of the teacher part down a half step to G flat major, and then the student can be the leader, playing little groups that the teacher copies.
The rote piece for the tall giraffe exercise is called A Day in the Life of a Tall Giraffe. Students practice playing both parallel and contrary motion. When students move on to Piano Safari Level 2, they learn intervals, seconds, thirds, fourths, and fifths, and begin to find notes all over the grand stave instead of just starting on landmark notes. Metric counting is also introduced. There are 3 kinds of pieces in Level 2, which are reading, rote, and challenge. Challenge pieces are early level classical works, which we will show you in a moment. The technique book is separate instead of being included in the repertoire book. This is an example of a challenge piece from Level 2, March by Czerny. In Piano Safari Level 3, students begin studying key signatures that center around C major, A minor, G major, E minor, F major, and D minor. Repertoire Book 3 contains reading pieces only because we believe that students' reading level has increased to the point where they no longer need a specifically designated rote piece. There is a separate technique book with standard technical patterns, such as 2-octave scales, chord inversions, and chord progressions. Repertoire Book 3 is a similar level to ABRSM Grade 1 and Grade 2 repertoire. The Nightingale is an example of a piece found early in Repertoire Book 3. It was written by my son Isaiah, and he is going to perform it for you now. Thank you so much for watching our presentation today. You can learn more about Piano Safari at our website, pianosafari.com, as well as find many other resources, including videos and free downloadable teacher guides. Please look for us on Facebook also. Our group is Teaching Piano Safari. You can email us at info@pianosafari.com with any questions you might have. Thank you.